devil does God's work. The reason I say that isn't to give anybody else glory, but actually the Father, because it says a lot about how much He's in control. I think often we can look through a kind of scope as a Christian. I don't know what it is. If it's the culture, the atmosphere, or atmospheres that we tend to be around, but we tend to forget how big God is. And I think a big part of it simply is because we're getting to know Him. And for those who, like you, are digging in, who are seeking the Most High, and you're asking questions bigger than yourself, and you're seeking for answers that a part of you might not want to have an answer to, but you know that it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to ask. It's the important question. And that's when you know you're seeking the Most High, is when you are a part of something bigger than yourself. And not only does that scare you, but until the understanding comes, I don't think the fear goes away, because it's all just the unknown. So if you're chilling and you know Jesus in some kind of way, I don't think you know Him. We use that word like really loosely. I'm super hesitant because I don't know how to say this, but I'm just going to have to let my heart speak for itself. Because I tend to live by the Spirit anyway, so my posture should come through. It's not that you're not going to go to heaven, or that you're going to go to hell. It means you don't know Him with a deeper intimacy that He would like you to. And because of who I am and the path that He's led me through, because now I know so much of Him, more than before, it's hard for me to say so easily I know God, because there's been a few times where things got pivotal and everything would change depending on how I acted in that situation. And based on how I did act, I saw a part of Him that I just wasn't comfortable with looking at, because now being after it, I didn't see the scope of it, the whole thing, I saw through my scope. And what I'm trying to say is, you might not know God, but you know Him. You just don't understand how big He is yet. You don't understand how in control He is yet. You don't know the places He's at. You don't know the people He's created. And you don't know the plans He's got, because you're in a box. And He wants to take you out of it, but like this analogy He gave me, I was in my room, and that's all I had. This enclosed space. I had my bed there, I had my cupboard there, maybe a chest of drawers that held my belongings I really liked. And anyway, we all know when He comes in, when we invite Him into that, when we open the door of our heart to Him, He comes in and then He starts cleaning. And there's more light and it gets less dark. And we say yes to what offends us, because He's like, okay, I want to be here. And you're like, okay, be there. And then here, and then here. And then we're like, yeah, I welcomed you in. Duh, you can be there. But then He'll ask for like under the bed, or He'll ask at the back of the drawer, And it'll get kind of touch and go, because it'll offend you a bit more than usual. And you'll be like, okay, is there going to be any room left once you're done? Because now you start thinking long term, and you're like, where does this take me? You start to, look for control again. And the gospel really is that. But salvation is when you keep saying yes. One day, there's time. There's just time, and he uses it to get into every part of the room that you invited him into. One day, a day that we don't know yet, a day that he has planned ahead of time, he will expand the room, and that's the part we didn't grasp. Because then when the room gets bigger, after we let him in everywhere, then suddenly we're more free. That's freedom, is when there's more space. It's not when there's more light. The light helps. I mean, it's all freedom, actually. But one's healing, and then one's, revelation, perspective, growth. It's totally different. One is when you're making a machine with parts. Another is when you're given new parts to make a better machine. Like, he works that foundation until the foundation is set, and he decides that. So when the devil works, it's all within his control. Not only, like in Job, the enemy asks the Father what's going on, what he can do, what he can't do, and he's setting the boundaries. But he loves doing God's work, because the people who get put through these things, his job is to make them fail where they could have had victory. That's the whole point. You can choose to rise, or you can choose to die. You can choose to fall. And often the people who fall tend to think it wasn't a decision, but it always is. Because his grace is just that sufficient. You never missed out on an opportunity to have victory with him. And the more we walk in failure, is the more reason to look at, who it is we're serving, why it is we're serving him, and how much he is in control. The devil does God's work in your life when you are tested about a conversation you had yesterday, saying, oh, I do this, this, and this during my week, or this is my schedule here, here, and here. But then, funny enough, that week, your schedule's tested like never before. It's because he tries everything in existence. And when you put it out there, you're asking to be tested. We have words in our power. We have power in our words, both, vice versa. And often we look at the good, we look at one side of the scope. Humanity is usually like this. But also, every word is written someplace. Is your words going to be written in God's places, or is it the enemy's places? One place uses it to accuse, another uses it to uphold, and because it's done in a place of surrender. It's all about your scope. So you look at Hollywood, you look at the terrible things going on. That's the enemy, clearly. But then you look at other people and they're giving glory to God, but there's no Jesus. God's still there because he's massive, but he's not really, because they haven't let him be. Right? So there's a simultaneous knowing of God, and that's where the devil's work comes into play, because his job is to fuse between who is righteous and who isn't. And a lot of people get caught in the unrighteous boat, and they think that they're in some kind of middle ground, but they're not. They're just not righteous, meaning they're just not like God, and only God's children are like God. That's like the whole point. So, I mean, with the enemy's job being to find, to separate good from evil, because he's the trier, the accuser. He's the one who brings you to trial. It's like Jesus said, keep me from temptation and deliver me from the evil one. Is another one says, keep me from my time of trial and deliver me from the evil one. It's God's work being done no matter what it is. You decide, though, if God gets the glory or not. And that's based on the integrity of your decision. It's based on your heart posture, which gives way for integrity. It's about how you look at others. It's about how you see yourself in the future. Are you the villain? Are you trying to be strong, trying to be some kind of archetype because you feel a sense of limelight on you on your life, like you're the chosen one, but you've got a kind of edgy tonality to your life's story? That's not how it works. You need to be humble in order to accept the truth, and in order to accept the truth, you must be like a child, because it's going to humble you. You can't have a sense of pride. You can't have a sense of self. This is who I am. So I'm going to be the best I can be as I am. No, that's not the gospel. That's not the cost. The cost is I am, but there is a greater I am. He's the one who made me. He's my creator. I know this much. Even in the beginning of my walk, I knew this. So I know you know this. He's the creator of all of it. He's in control of all of it. He's doing all of it. Doesn't matter if we forget along the way. These are inherent things that we know just based on us seeing an invisible God through his seeing creation. And with these things, we can decide whether or not we're going to look like him or we're not going to look like him, whether we're going to do what is right or what is wrong. That's why some people who don't hear the gospel one day, when things go south for them, or, it's just their time, they're gonna go to heaven because of their morality. But that's no excuse for the people who heard of Jesus, because it's the truth. You either seek the truth or you don't. The only way you get anywhere is when you let go of yourself and you ask things that are bigger than yourself. That's the whole point. So I'm not gonna continue to babble on if I've got nothing else to talk about. I just really do think that not many of us understand the devil does God's work. We know there's two kingdoms. We know there's separation. We know there's bad, good. We can see deliverance, demons being casted out. We can see healing, infirmity being casted out. God's work is obvious when it takes place in those places. But it can get really sticky when it's just you in a room. And you're like, God, why? Take this cup away from me. Why are you keeping me in waiting so long? Waiting season is such a big thing right now. I don't know why everybody's in a waiting season, because of what he's about to do. But everything becomes bigger when you start to seek God, because he's bigger than you know. Everything becomes greater than you, and you gotta get selfless. You gotta commit to his plan in order to be upgraded. We've got so many trigger words right now in culture because everybody's trying to get ahead. Everybody's trying to do things, and because of the time right now, everybody's in a way seeking God more than before because it's becoming more spiritual. And this is the perfect time to talk about the gospel. This is the perfect time to start seeking Jesus in purity. This is the perfect time to start putting people before yourself. This is the perfect time to get real pivotal with it. Just let go of the pride. Let go with what you think is right and say, God, what is right? What do you think? What do you want me to do? What should I be doing? What would you do in this decision? What do you want? Stop seeking God with all your heart. That's the time we're in. We're not in a time to quantum leap. We're not in the time to learn the basics of how the supernatural works, in the sense that take control of my destiny. We're not there. We were never called to be there. We were called to seek God with all of our hearts, and things get real simple. And that's when things become hard, because that's when the enemy starts attacking you. You can go to this meeting, you can go to that meeting, but you're going to need God to get through the day. You're going to need God to get through the night. It's all about how much of Him you know. And when you stop seeking God simply, stop seeking Him with all your heart. When it stops being simple, everything becomes complicated because you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to take control. Because now that your life's yours, you got to deal with it. You got to be the one that moves things. You got to be the one that holds weights. You can't give up the weight. You can't let it go at His feet and still expect to be comfortable and still expect to have it your way. Those plans that you think about in the future, I want to do this, this, and this in my business. I want to make it to this, and this place, this milestone in my career. I want to be seen and in these types of circles with these types of people. I want these kinds of things. You can design your life with an upright spirit, have an integral heart, and not keep God first. And that thing is not going to be blessed by God. He's just going to keep you going because you decide how deep you go. For the people who have these big callings, they tend to think they're the chosen one. They're the one that God's going to do everything for, and they're the only ones who won't have to surrender. And usually these kinds of people, they're all right with doing the work. They're all right as long as they're like stewarded toward that. But when things get still, it's tough. When the enemy comes and tries you, you feel we make things spiritual and we go overboard and we take control real quick. And then we sin. And then we just say, next time. But we don't even know how things work. We don't know how much we're taking a step back. We don't know how much we're taking a step forward. This isn't condemnation. This is just straight up facts. We don't know anything that's going on. And we think we do way too often. So with the enemy doing God's work, take that how you will. It's in every way. I'm talking even the grand scope of things. Dude, God has a plan. I was talking about simplicity. It doesn't get more simple than that. It's a pre-recorded plan because He knows all, sees all, and it's coming into fruition. And we think this, and this is new under the sun. It's not. Newsflash. It's not. None of it is. The devil is still doing God's work. So I don't think that you need to be in control right now. I don't think that you need to worry right now. I don't think you need to hold that weight that you're holding on to right now. I don't think you gotta keep on looking down conspiracy rabbit holes. I don't think you need to let your curiosity get the best of yourself. Right now, I think what you gotta do is do some prayer and fasting. I think right now, what you gotta do is pray more than you're used to. Read the Bible more than you're used to. And that should definitely be at least every day, even if it's just a chapter, just a psalm. I mean it. That's the hard part. We jumped over that because that's like the basics of being a Christian. But holding that for a lifetime, as basic as it is not easy. Because of how He has made His plan. Because of how the enemy does God's work. You will be tried, you will be tested, and then you will be promoted. But one doesn't come before the other, and it's in that order. So, if everybody wants to be ahead right now, I think if you really want to be ahead, you need to forget about that race and start to focus on your closeness with God. That's the race that you are called to look at. That's how things are going to change for you, is when you seek Him with all your heart. Things got to get, they've got to get simple again, because simple is harder. And only once you try it becomes easier. You haven't even begun the things that you were called to do because you thought you overthought it. You didn't know your capacity because you forgot that He was in control. So just be aware the enemy is not in control. Even he is doing God's will. Even he is doing God's plan. Right, because their will is very different. But like I said, I'm sure my heart went through in this. And don't fret. Stop fretting. Stop worrying. Just chill out. For real. God's in control. Always. And there's nothing going on that He's not doing right now. There's so many times when I wish I listened to the person telling me that. Because right now it's true. We're seeking truth. We're seeking Jesus. That's truth. It's ultimate. If you are wanting to live in the light and you're actively seeking to be righteous, God's in control. You're not going to die. You're not going to fail. You're not going to be left empty. You're not going to always not be seen. But it's got to be enough for Him to see you, and Him being the only person who sees you. He's got to be enough before anything else comes your way. It's His plan. And you'll thank Him one day. Glory to the Most High. Peace.